I am making a Time Lord deck profile. It's been a while since I last played this deck, but I played it once and immediately I remember loving the deck again just because Time Lord is just an awkward deck to try to deal with. Just because all their boss monsters cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects. And then it's just weird having a bunch of level 10 fairies that do weird things. But Time Lord is a really fun deck I like, and I just want to play it again. So I made a deck, and the extra deck won't be shown in this video, but I will comment below, or I will have it be in the description what my extra deck would be. But it's literally just would be 3 copies of 5 different rank 10s, or accidentally 4 of them, and a rank 11, but that's because of its own effect. But the reason for this extra deck is because I play Potter Extravagance in this deck, because Extravagance. Anyway, starting off with the level 1 monsters, I play 3 copies of Time Maiden. Time Maiden says if you control no monsters, you can special summon from your hand, and it's treated as 2 tributes for the tribute summon of a Time Lord monster. But you're never going to be tribute summoning a Time Lord unless you're stuck with Time Maiden because your opponent has negated any ability for it to search. But it then has the effect you can tribute it, and then for cost, and add a Time Lord monster or 0 attack from your deck to your hand. And then you can banish this card from your graveyard to special summon a Time Lord monster with 0 attack from your deck, ignoring summoning conditions. However, if you do that, you're not allowed to special summon monsters during that turn. So you can't special summon it, get to the grave, search a Time Lord, and then banish it, summon another one. Because when you activate that effect, you're not allowed to special summon at all that turn, other than its own. And then this next card can technically be taken out for hand traps, but I like it because it gets really big for no apparent reason. And that is 3 copies of Montage Dragon. This card has been one of my favorite cards since, I can't remember if it was episode 1 or 2. I want to say it was episode 2 of Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds when it first showed up. But Montage Dragon cannot be normal summoned or set. It cannot be special summoned except by sending 3 other monsters from your hand to the graveyard, and then its attack points are equal to their combined levels times 300. So because everything in this deck except for Montage Dragon and Time Maiden are level 10, you'll typically be getting rid of 3 level 10 monsters. And 30 times 300 is 9,000. So it becomes a 9,000 beat stick for no apparent reason. And I love it. Then moving on to the Time Lords, I play 1 copy of Medion the Time Lord, Lazion the Time Lord, and Sadion the Time Lord. These 3 are one-ofs, but if I could, I'd play 2 more copies of Lazion, just because Lazion's a good one to open when you don't have your trio of opening cards for an FTK. But if you have to go first, Lazion is a good one, because once per turn, if an opponent adds a card or cards from their deck to their hand, including their draw phase, you get to burn them for 1,000. And then at the end of the battle phase, and then they all have the effect of if you control monsters, you can normal summon them without tributing. They cannot be targeted or destroyed by card effects. But then all Time Lords have the effect, or most Time Lords. The Ultimate Time Lord doesn't, but most of the Time Lords share the effect of they have an effect that activates at the end of the battle phase after they've battled. So at the end of the battle phase, Sadion returns your life points to 4,000 if they're both level 4,000. Lazion shuffles your opponent's graveyard into the deck. And then Medion, the Time Lord, returns all other monsters on the field to the owner's hand, and then burns your opponent for 300 times the number of monsters returned. And then moving on to the 2 ofs, I play 2 copies of Camion the Time Lord and Halon the Time Lord. Camion has the effect of it can target 1 card your opponent controls, return to the hand, and then burn for 500. Halon has the effect of if your life points are lower than your opponent's, your opponent takes damage equal to the difference in your life points. So this was actually kind of funny because my opponent was playing a banished deck, or Grand Maju deck, but they couldn't get to Grand Maju. So They just had an obscene amount of life points. I think they had like the amount of banishing they were doing because it was a tag duel against 2 Grenmajus. For some hilariously, neither of them could see their Grenmajus, but they had like 3 or 4 soul absorptions in play. Both of them had already desires a couple times, but they had like 350,000 life points and were confident in their lead that they'd be able to win. Then I just went, okay, summon Halon, attack, Halon's effect, burn for 342,000 damage. They're just like, wait, what? And it was hilarious because they did not realize Halon had that effect. And then, of course, that's when I had also used a couple other cards to just end them that turn. It was great. And at the end of the duel, it turns out they both had banished all their Grenmajus, so they were winning no matter what. Anyway, now that my story's done, I play 3 copies of Mykion the Time Lord. Mykion has the effect of, at the end of the battle phase, have your opponent's life points. 3 copies of Zaphion. Zaphion has the effect at the end of the battle phase to return all your opponent's spells and traps on their field back to their deck. And if Zaphion should leave the field by a card effect, you get to draw 1 card. Which comes up later with another card that I'll get to when I go over the spells. Then I play 3 copies of Raphion the Time Lord. Raphion has the effect of, if it battled a monster, then your opponent takes damage for the attack points of that monster battled. Then to finish off the 3 other Time Lords that have end of battle phase effects, 3 copies of Sandion the Time Lord. Unlike the other Time Lords, Sandion can only be normal summoned if your opponent controls a monster and you do not. And he's not allowed to inflict any battle damage, but he can still destroy monsters, which is why he's a 4,000 attack beat stick. But at the end of the battle phase, he gets to burn your opponent for 2,000 points of damage. Also, another effect all these Time Lords have is that during your standby phase, they all get shuffled back into the deck, which is how you are able to summon more when you don't control any monsters. Then to finish off with Time Lords, I do play 1 copy of Cephalon, the Ultimate Time Lord. Cephalon can only be special summoned from your hand if you have 10 or more monsters in the grave. What was it? I think it was 10. Yeah, 10 or more monsters in your graveyard. And then once per turn, you can special summon a level 8 or higher fairy monster from your hand or graveyard. Its effects are negated, but its attack becomes 4,000. This doesn't matter though, because you're never summoning it by its own effect. You're always summoning it off of a really dumb trap for Time Lord. Because Time Lords aren't really meant to be an OTK deck, but I just randomly managed to find a way to make them OTK. But if you're summoning Cephalon, the Ultimate Time Lord, then it doesn't matter, they get their effects negated. But that is it for the Time Lords I play. Moving on to the very few spells. I play 3 copies of Celestial Transformation, 3 copies of Advanced Draw, and 3 copies of Pod of Extravagance. Celestial Transformation says you can special summon a fairy from your hand, but it's destroyed during the end phase. But because it doesn't negate their effects, the Time Lords can't be destroyed. And then Advanced Draws lets you tribute a level 8 or higher monster to draw 2 cards. But if you use Advanced Draw to tribute Zaphion, then you get to draw 3 cards. And then Extravagance, you just banish 3 or 6 random cards from your extra deck, draw 2 cards, and you can't draw cards for the rest of the turn. Which is the whole reason my extra deck's not here at the moment, because when I was testing the deck, I was using my Battle Wasp extra deck. So, there's that. And then moving on to the traps, I play 3 copies of Empty Machine, 1 copy of Infinite Machine, and 1 copy of Infinite Light. Empty Machine has the effect of, when activated, or the first time it would be destroyed by a card effect. After the first time this face-up card would be destroyed by a card effect, each turn it's not. You can activate 1 of these effects per turn. discard a level 10 monster, draw one card, and if it's the only card in your spell and trap zone, you can target one Time Lord monster in your graveyard, shuffle into the deck, then you can set one Infinite Machine from your deck. Infinite Machine has the effect where you can only activate it by sending a face-up empty machine from your spell and trap zone to the graveyard. And then once per turn, it cannot be destroyed by card effect, or by your opponent's card effects. And then once per turn, you can activate one of its two effects, which is during the main phase, special summon a Time Lord from your hand, or same as Infinite Machine, or as Empty Machine. My bad. Shuffle a Time Lord in your graveyard back into the deck, and then set one Infinite Light from your deck. And then Infinite Light can only be activated by sending Infinite Machine you control face up from your spell and trap zone to the graveyard. Once Infinite Light is activated, it cannot be targeted or destroyed by opponent's card effects. It has the effect of Time Lords cannot return to the deck during the standby phase. It also has the effect of Time Lords cannot be targeted or destroyed by card effects. As well as last effect being, if you control no monsters, you can special summon 3 Time Lords, up to 1 from your hand, graveyard, and deck. So Infinite Light is how you're summoning Cephalon, the Ultimate Time Lord. So by activating Infinite Light, you should be winning because it gives you 4 Time Lords for no apparent reason. But that is it for the traps. And also, that is it for my Time Lord deck profile. I'll have the extra deck in the description. But if you have any ideas what I can do to improve the deck, or would have any ideas of other decks you'd like me to make, or even since I'm wanting to add more actual games to my YouTube channel, if there are any decks you want to see face off, feel free to comment those in the comments below. Thanks for